We moved here in Mile in 2001. Raj and I both retired from GM, and we lived up here next to my mom and dad. After Roger passed, my mom found out she had lung cancer, and I took care of her. And while trying to take care of everyone else, I ended up having to pull the plug on the machines that kept my mom alive in '05. And again, this is without my brothers. My two brothers were not in the picture. They did not know my mom had cancer in our lives. So my mom passed, and my brother had read the obituary, my little brother, and called and said, "Am I okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay, and I don't know how you can live with yourself. No phone calls, no cards, no nothing to mom. Have a good life." And I hung up, and I never talked to him again. And I found out in 2010 from a friend, read an obituary, that he had passed. So we never spoke. We never made up. And that was that with my little brother, and I have an older brother left. Pastor spoke one day about forgiveness, and I had been struggling with anger and resentment for a while. A handyman came into my life after my mom passed. I was trying to get the 2 yards together and ready for a memorial and everything, and take care of my dad and my aunt and uncle and everything. And he offered to help, and I offered to pay him good money to help me, and he did. My kids always say I'm too kind, trusting, and giving, and well, I was kind and giving, and he took advantage of that. I loaned him money when he said he needed it with the promise of getting it back, and I gave him furniture, I gave him a TV, I gave him Roger's clothes, let him use my car. And one time he took the car downstate to see his son and called and said it was broke down. I sent money and get a call later that my car had been abandoned and needed to be picked up and moved. And so I have to tell my kids, who never wanted him there in the beginning, that they need to go find my car and get it fixed and bring it to me. And so I was in the doghouse a little bit there, and I was out $3,000, and come to find out he gave me a false name, and he was going to steal my car. It was at the Ohio border. So this man lives in my neighborhood, and I see him all the time. And I used to work in my yard, and I'd wave at everybody, and that was my happy place. I mean, I could take care of everybody, but that was my tranquility, working in my yard with my radio on. It changed all that. I didn't wave at anybody anymore because I didn't know if he was going to be in the car. I saw him at the mailbox. It changed my whole day. I'd see him in the grocery store, at, the dollar store. And it just changed who I was. It changed my life. He had a control over me. And his mom had passed. I heard about it in the neighborhood. His mom had passed. And I went to a garage sale, just off the wall, go to a garage sale, and there they are. And she walked up to me, the sister, which I had been friends with, and I consoled her, and we talked, and he walked up not knowing it was me. And I spoke to him and said, "Jack, I'm so sorry about your mom." And he looked so shocked with his mouth open and his eyes big. And he said, "Thank you for saying that." And he walked away. And he came back and he said, with his head cocked and kind of strange looking, and he said, "Thanks again for saying that." And he went and sat down. And before I left, I went and gave him a hug. And I told him that I'm so sorry, and just take care of yourself. And I walked away, and I just don't even know how to describe the feeling I got through that forgiveness. My whole body was just like happy jello going. I could have danced in the street. I mean, it was just a whole body happiness, relief, freedom, smiles. I could have laughed out loud. It was just a weird, unbelievable feeling to let go of that. And now I see him, and I heard he was real sick, and I was at the mailbox, and I went up and put my arms on both his arms and said, "I've heard you've been real sick, and I hope you're feeling better." So this is how it is now. If I see him, I say hi. It's completely different. And so I'm thankful for the pastor preaching about forgiveness. And then that got me thinking I needed to forgive my big brother. I did have one relative left. My family wasn't all gone. I did have him left, but I needed to forgive him for not being in my parents' life for 20 years and the hurt that he caused them. And I called him, not knowing if it was his number, if he'd answer, talk to me, or what, but I called him. And we talked. Eventually, it took 3 times, phone tag back and forth, but we talked and reminisced, and he was so happy and thankful for me reaching out and thanked me for making his Christmas. And I felt blessed, and I just like danced down the hall. I got my brother back. I got a brother, and I was so happy. And he's been to my home and met with me since, and it was a big blessing, a big blessing. And I thought, I'm good now. My heart's good with everybody. And my kids did not understand this because the whole family had it against my brother Ted and this Jack. So I had some explaining to do. But I said, I'm doing this for me. I want my heart free of anger. I want to be good with everybody. And it's up to God. God wants us to be forgiving and loving and kind and helpful. And we need to do that more. And if you have anyone in your life that you need to forgive, or that maybe a relationship that's been strained by words or actions, and maybe it wasn't even your fault. My brother, it wasn't my fault. Jack, it wasn't my fault, but I forgave them, and I'm happier now. Make sure that people you care about and want in your life, don't let the past ruin your future. Put the past behind you and move forward and live for today.